Well, it's late December and we had a pretty good snowstorm, probably about 6 inches on the ground. And kind of out here assessing the crops. This is kohlrabi. And I think this is going to be all right. There may be some damage to the outer layers of tissue, but you know, the snow actually insulates from the super cold conditions. Oh gosh, curious to see what happens with cauliflower. Oh, my hands are freezing. Somewhere in there is a cauliflower, you see. Still alive. I'm curious to see if that develops or just a goner. God, I can hardly tell what's what out here. Got beets and rutabaga underneath all this. That's a beet. Yeah, it's actually all right. All my hands are cold. I got cabbage under here, I think, if I'm in the right spot. Cabbage is protected by quite some layers of leaves. And like I said, the snow is also insulating. It's the temperatures in the 20s who are about more than freezing. So if the snow can kind of keep it more around freezing temperature as opposed to in the low 20s, things will be better off. This is kale. Yeah, that leaf looks all right. You can see the markers where I have different garlic varieties. I think I'll pull through. I've got overwinter onions in here. I'm a little nervous about those. Those were little. Here they are. We'll see. Out here after the snow's melted and the crops look pretty good. Nice beet survived. Look at the beautiful greens. And yeah, I mean, you saw what it was just a few days ago. Completely covered in snow. There's a lot of water logging. I'm hoping some of that drains off. But most of the stuff survived okay. Here's the cabbage. Remember the cabbage igloos? And I think it's fine. The kale came through. The fava beans. The onions came through. The garlic. Everything's fine. And that's part of dealing with the crop selection, the varieties, is these things were supposed to be tolerant of winter conditions to some extent. And the plants actually put a bunch of sugars into their leaves, and the sugars act as an antifreeze. So straight water will freeze at 32, but you start shoving sugars into the water, and it's an antifreeze. So that's why a lot of these crops taste sweet after frost. It triggers the sugar concentration. Sure, here, hold my beet. Some of these cabbage aren't doing so hot. They probably got a lot of slug damage and then the frost, and others are fine. So it's from plant to plant. And a lot of these things, you know, the outer leaves may be kind of a mess, but you start peeling back and they're fine. And what you look for is just, is it firm, you know? So this is nice and firm. I know that it's not rotten down there. I can push on it and it gives me a lot of resistance. So things are kind of messy out here because there's been a lot of harvesting going on. So you got a lot of, you know, leaves on the ground and chopped up stalks. And some of this stuff, you know, is kind of damaged. This Romanesco cauliflower, the tips are a little damaged because it opened up and got exposed to the full brunt of things. But a lot of what you get is you get these protective leaves in cauliflower. And so there's basically young cauliflower shoots down there. And they probably sailed through this just fine. And in another week or so, I'll be able to find some fresh cauliflower shoots in here and pull them out. And I'll bet they'll be undamaged. But you got to kind of, there's one right there, for example. And that's in perfect condition. And later this week, it'll probably be great to eat. Curious about these other crops. I've got cilantro out here, and a lot of it looks like it's pretty good. Hey, Theo. Yeah, tasty cilantro, and the arugula came through as well. So even some of these like more tender things survived.